it's Professor Kettler. We're going to go over your Milestone 2 assignment that is happening here in week 5. So the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and go into your module 5 and click on this, this Word document. And it will download to your downloads folder or wherever you assign downloads to go to. And you will want to open it. And what it will look like, let me go ahead and open it. And because Zoom can't let me share multiple screens at once, real quick, sorry about that. All right, so what you should see here is the worksheet. I'm gonna go ahead and hit enable editing. And so let's just go ahead and take a look at this. Let me get my little spotlight back. So essentially what you're going to do here is you have some boxes to fill in, and you are continuing your ecological processes. See, I told you they weren't going to go away. So if you really struggled with this on Milestone 1, you should go back and review the resources that I posted about these things, and make sure that you fully understand what processes you are going to do, because they're going to appear in your part 4 as well. So you're going to do these 2 boxes first, then you're going to identify potential solutions that have been proposed by the scientific community for mitigating your environmental issues. So, what kind of solutions have been proposed for reducing deforestation, or reducing water pollution or air pollution, or, increasing biodiversity, or whatever topic you chose, right? And it needs to be solutions that have already been put out there by a reputable scientific, peer-reviewed paper or source or whatever you need. So that's why it says make sure that you're including citations. So almost every single one of these sections needs some kind of outside source, reference, whatever, to support what you are putting in here. So in a way, this is like a research paper, but you're kind of just chunking it. So make sure you use those resources and you put them in here. Then you're going to be explaining the advantages and disadvantages of each solution. You're going to describe how human behavior would have to change in order for these solutions to be effective. Then you're going into part 4, and some parts of this you kind of did in your module 4 activity, but this is not going to be a direct copy and paste from that. So be sure that you're really paying attention to what questions they are asking you. So for instance, this says, identify your personal habits and daily activities that impact the ecological processes related to the environmental issue. So that you'll have to go back to your processes that you chose and talk about how you are impacting those processes. So how are you impacting the water cycle? How are you impacting nutrient cycles, the community dynamics, or the energy flow? And you're going to describe, what it is that you're doing and how it's basically harming that ecological process. Then you are going to describe how your daily life impacts the larger environmental issue. So how is your daily life impacting water pollution, trash, climate change? What is it that you could be doing in your daily life that is impacting this? Now, this is sometimes where students struggle, because they're like, well, I don't litter and I don't pollute and I don't cut down trees. This is where in the activity in module 4, where you talked about how you could be indirectly contributing to the larger environmental issue. So be sure to revisit that part of your project, and you can put that in here. Then you're going to prioritize your, the habits that you discussed, by which have the greatest impact on, the overall issue. Then this part's a little tricky. So you're going to list 3 strategies that are going to help mitigate the negative environmental impacts of your habits. And then you're going to explain, how is your, bad habit basically going to be altered by these strategies. Then you're going to explain how the 3 strategies that you discussed is going to contribute to your previously identified solutions. So let's go ahead and look at what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. And if you forgot what ecological processes that you chose, just go back to your Milestone 1 project, and it should be listed here. Okay, so these same processes are going to be repeated in, trying to find my paper here. So those same processes are going to be repeated in your Milestone 2 worksheet. Let me get my annotator out. All right, so you should be seeing my kind of instructor example here. So remember that my original topic was about oil spills. And whenever there's my annotator, sorry about that. Whenever I chose the ecological processes, the 2 that I chose that made the most sense that were being impacted by oil spills was the water cycle and community dynamics. So you can just place the processes here. Now remember that, and I probably gave you some feedback on this, if you only chose 1 process, it says processes, plural. So you should choose at least 2. So what I like to do is I just kind of put them here, and then I answer the question. And it says, explain how human activities directly and indirectly impact this, process. So I don't have any, citations or anything in this. I showed you how to do that in Milestone 1 and in your other assignment. So you should be kind of like old hat at that now. But remember that anywhere it talks about using APA guidelines, you need to have, references listed, and doing your in-text citations, right? So like, I might want to put something to support this statement, since it's kind of a bold statement, because I say, okay, well, when oil spills directly occur in the ocean, it can cause a collapse of the fisheries and create dead zones. So I would want to support that, right? And so you would do the author or the organization's name, and then the date published as your in-text citation. All right, so if you look at this, I kind of say when humans directly or indirectly introduce oil into waterways, it can impact the water cycle in a variety of ways. And then I talk about, what happens when, when these things are introduced, right? So the negative things that happen. Then I talk about how, humans, because they've introduced a variety of environmental pollutants with these oil spills, that can negatively impact the community dynamics. Wildlife ingest the oil from eating or drinking it, and then humans can end up ingesting it as well. This alters the community dynamics because if a population of animals are sick, dying, or migrating away from the spill, it creates an imbalance in the ecosystem and could render that area unusable for a long time. So I'm basically just talking about what human, random human activities can do to alter these processes and negatively impact them. Now, this next part says, explain how human activities in your local community directly or indirectly impact. So this up here was just kind of a regular, random, when humans in general do this, this is what it does to these processes. Now you're looking at the processes that you chose in your local community, right? So we're still sticking with the same ecological processes. You don't need to choose any new ones. Explain how human activities in your local community are directly or indirectly impacting the processes, right? So I say, hey, in my local community, humans drilled an offshore oil well and erected fracking wells within 3 miles of the shoreline. Fracking wells contaminated local groundwater supplies with oil residue and methane leaks, while the offshore rig broke a pipe that gushed 3,000 barrels of oil a day for a week. And, this caused the local water bodies to be contaminated. Then I talk about, due to these contamination events above from human activities, the salmon population suffered a collapse and their ecosystem can no longer support this fishery. So I am basically just saying, what is it that happened in my community? What human actions in my community led to this overall environmental issue that we have been discussing since week 1? Then I'm going into the potential solutions. Now it says solutions, right? Plural, so more than one. I wouldn't do as many as I've done here. I did 3. I got a little happy with it, but 2 is fine, okay? And so what you want to do is find a solution that's been proposed by the scientific community that can help mitigate your overall issue. My overall issue is oil spills, right? So one potential solution is switching to renewable energy sources so we no longer have to drill for oil and gas, okay? You want to make sure that your solutions are realistic, okay? So you don't want to say, never drill oil again, right? So switching to this would kind of lessen, I should probably not put, so we no longer have to, but lessen our need to drill. Then I say another solution is to implement measures that would automatically shut off drilling if leaks are detected and provide sealed casts to hold in any leaks and prevent them from entering the environment. And then a final solution, if oil spills do occur, you need to implement booms and dispersants to keep the oil contained and mitigated, okay? So I did 3, you don't have to do 3, okay? Go ahead and do 2 solutions that are realistic that would actually help, you know, it maybe not fully solve your environmental problem, but greatly lessen it. The reason why you shouldn't do too many here is because you have to explain the advantage and disadvantages of each of these solutions. So what I have done is I take the solution that I proposed and I type it here, and then I put the advantages underneath and the disadvantages underneath. Now, I have not gone greatly in depth with this, okay? You should probably have a lot more information than this, but it's giving you the general idea of what it needs to look like. So I give an advantage for renewable energy and a disadvantage. And so because I had, you know, automatic shut off and sealed cask as another solution, I would need to put advantages and disadvantages of that. And then booms and dispersants was my third solution, advantages and disadvantages of that. Then when we get into part C, you're going to briefly describe how human behavior would have to change in order for these solutions to be effective. So in order for renewable energy to be effective, you know, what would people have to do? And you're going to want to explore like what would they have to do in their personal lives? What would they have to do financially? You know, are they willing to, you know, put money into this versus not? Are they willing to vote for these measures? You know, different things like that. So you just want to basically look and see, okay, what are humans going to have to do differently in order for these solutions to actually move forward and work? All right, last part 4, reducing personal impact. Okay, so this first one, you're going back to those ecological processes, right? So go back all the way, you know, to your processes that you chose and put them here. And basically you're identifying any kind of habits or daily activities that you may do that impact these processes. So I say, okay, well, you know what? I leave oil products out in my yard, and when it rains, these products run off into the local waterways. I also drive a fossil fuel vehicle that can leak oil and gas into the water. I could have talked about my water usage as well. And then as far as community dynamics, I talk about like how I indirectly support the oil and gas industry by using fossil fuels in my home and transportation and not advocating for cleaner and safer methods of drilling. So, you know, if you struggled with identifying like how do you contribute to this, just remember that the things that you don't do can have an impact as well. So if you're not a part of any kind of group or involved in like your local government, then, you know, you might be indirectly supporting these measures, right? Because you're not saying, hey, I have a problem with this. If that doesn't make sense, just let me know and I can help you out. So this is where I put that information. Then on part B, I'm basically saying, okay, how, you know, describe how your daily life impacts the larger environmental issue. So what is it that I'm doing in my daily life that is potentially contributing to oil spills in my community? So I say, well, I'm contributing by using fossil fuels in my home and transportation. since I'm using fossil fuels and oil each day, the potential for spills increases. Okay, so just a real simple, like, how are you doing it? Then you have to prioritize your habits listed here by which have the greatest impact. So in this section, you're going to try and list off as many things as you can think of that could be contributing to your overall problem. Okay, I just did a couple right here. Then you have to prioritize, right? So you're going to talk about, which habit has the greatest impact. So I say, okay, the habit has the greatest impact is how many miles I drive each day. I talk about how many miles I drive and gallons of gas needed to use, as well as oil. Okay, and then I say this demand keeps oil and gas companies drilling for more of these resources because, right, they're trying to help customers like me, right? They're trying to give into the demand that is present. All right, and then this last section, students struggle with this a little bit. So it says, based on your prioritization, list 3 strategies that will help mitigate the negative environmental impacts. So you actually did this in your week 4 activity because you listed 3 strategies that could help mitigate your contributions. So you can put those strategies from your activity in here, and then just kind of explain how these strategies are going to help with this negative habit, this bad habit, right? So I say, okay, I'm going to invest in an electric car. This is going to help eliminate my usage of oil and gas. I'm going to turn off appliances and lights in my home. This is going to alter my overusage of electricity and cut down on the amount of oil and gas needed. I'm going to join some advocacy groups because I can advocate for cleaner energy and lessen our dependence. Okay, so you're just going to explain how these strategies are going to help with the habits that you already do. Then this last part is talking about it. Students tend to skip this because they think it's the same thing, but it's not. So I know that, this first part is word for word the same thing, but it says, basically take those 3 strategies and explain how your usage of them in your personal life is going to contribute to the previously identified potential scientific solutions. So that's where you have to go back up to the top where you identified your solutions, and you're going to put them, down here. And right, so here was, here was one solution, investing in renewable energy, and then, solutions of automatic shutoffs and sealed casts, as well as booms and dispersants, blah, right? So I'm going to say, okay, well, if I invest in an electric car, right, which was my first strategy, that's going to help with the solution of switching to renewable energy. Then I say, okay, joining advocacy groups and turning off appliances in my home can help with the solution of automatic shutoffs and sealed casts, as well as booms and dispersants because, and then I give my explanation. Okay, so anytime, like I said before, anytime you see this, support your explanation with specific scientific examples or scientific facts. That's asking for references. So you can see right here that every box, almost every box, is asking you to support your answers with references using APA citation. Okay, so make sure you don't forget that. And like I said, you can either put it in the boxes themselves, or you can just have, a nice little reference list at the bottom. It's really up to you and what you prefer. All right, so the more effort that you put into this, okay, I know it's a lot, but the more effort you put into this, the much faster and easier your final project is going to go, because all of these things are going to be repeated. All of these sections and everything are going to be repeated in your final project. So if you score really, really well on this assignment, I would say about 50% of your final project is already done. So it's really important that you work hard on this. If you get stuck on anything, or if you need help, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you, especially if you if you run into, troubleshooting issues as far as your ecological processes or your potential solutions, and things like that. Like I can help you out. So just let me know. And I look forward to reading your milestone projects.